So in this video, I am going to discuss the exact training plan that I used to raise my VO2 max from 54 to 56 in less than 3 weeks using my Garmin 255 Black. So stay tuned because we're doing this right now. So VO2 max is the maximum rate of oxygen consumption attainable during intense physical exertion. So the higher the number, the better your oxygen consumption, which means you're going to be able to exercise longer and more efficiently. So the first key feature on the Garmin 255 that contributed to me being able to raise my VO2 max by 2 points in just a couple weeks was to follow the daily suggestions. All right, so let me give you a little background. I was the type of runner who would always just run negative splits, right? So mile 1, 9:30 pace, mile 2, 8:30 pace, mile 3, 7:30 pace, mile 4, 6:30 pace. And I was a very short distance runner, but I was always running the negative splits. Like I had to have a faster mile every time. So when I got into the daily suggestions from my Garmin, this was kind of a new world for me. This was something new for me to explore. And what it taught me is to run a lot more slower base runs, which I had not been getting in my schedule. It also got me to put the long run back on 1 day a week. So I do that on Saturday. So that's my first thing that I used, was following the daily suggestions. Now, one other pro tip on this, I set the heart rate function as the key factor, right? So you can use heart rate or you can use pace, and it'll guide you and give you alerts for either one. I use the heart rate one. So when I'm using the daily suggestions, I'm using the heart rate function to keep me on track. So I'm not as focused on the pace of the miles as I am the heart rate that I'm holding. Now, that brings us to number 2. Don't follow the daily suggestions on the Garmin 255 too much, okay? So what happened is when I started following the daily suggestions on my Garmin 255, what actually happened over time was I actually lost a point on my VO2 max. So I saw a decrease. And then I just said, wait a minute, let me just mix up my week and start doing a little bit of my own training plan, which was the old way, which was pushing myself really hard, 90, 95%, a couple days of the week. And then I'll mix that with using the daily suggestions for things like base runs, long runs. And what I would do, I would oscillate every day back and forth. I would do 1 day of harder, more intense physical activity, and then I would do a lighter day with the heart rate monitoring and doing like base run type of running. So those two things really help. Now I'll give you one more pro tip. I started doing twice a week. I would do 1 mile flat out, one on Wednesday and one on Thursday. Do it just flat out, 95% effort level. Just, push yourself to the limit. Now, again, if you have some type of health issues or heart issues or something like that, you want to be careful with this one. You want to exercise common sense, listen to your doctor's advice. But if you're healthy and you want to push yourself a little bit harder, go ahead 2 days out of the week and push yourself on that full mile, right? Because for me, the full mile is a real determinant of my speed work. So as I pushed myself for that full mile, that's where I really get to see where I'm at in terms of, VO2 max. So just to summarize, 3 important points is 1, follow the daily suggestions on the Garmin 255, but mix in a little bit of extra effort training on the Garmin 265. So follow the daily suggestions, but don't follow the daily suggestions totally. And 1 or 2 days a week, push yourself a little bit harder, flat out on a full mile. And if you will keep growing that that mile time. Just keep whatever you did the week before, try to give yourself a little bit quicker time the next week. You'll just see that steady increase in the VO2 max. So I hope this helped. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe to the channel so you get more good stuff. I've got lots of great running content coming up and more training plans and more information on the Garmin 255 Black, my favorite Garmin watch to date. So hope you have a great running day out there, and I'll see you in the next video.